So let's go with this quote-unquote defense analysis. Like literally Kevok has quoted one defense analyst, so one article, and he has come to the conclusion that China is Syria's best ally. But let me break open the fact to you that they don't realize that China and Israel aren't adversaries at all or significant foes at all in this geopolitical battle. And all the weaponry and what are the quote unquote communication equipments which are being provided is basically stolen from the Americans, as you know from CIA leaked documents and from arrested Israelis itself who claim that these materials were stolen from them, and then it became into a big scandal. Keratin Pollard and things like that. Those Jews were held responsible, but they were given amnesty, quote unquote, Israeli influence, lobbyist influence, and things like that. Now let's come to the China-Syria relations versus the China-Israel relations. China views Syria as an extension of its so-called One Belt, One Road. China is helping Syria not to get rid of quote unquote terroristic groups or things like that, because firstly it itself was mainly quote responsible for the creation of many insurgent groups in the East Turkestan region, just to portray that Uyghurs as terrorists and things like that. That narrative would later be used and abused by the Chinese, by the Americans, by the Russians in the global war on terror and things like that. Many leftist figures in Hong Kong tell me of this. And also another part, if China was interested, it would have fought the Uyghur militants back in Italy. We didn't see any enthusiasm from their side. Now let's come to the Chinese-Israel relations. Chinese-Israel relations are there from decades in millennium. If you look at the fact that the first Jews were settling down in around Shanghai, and from there on they built into a big mafia-type business and things like that, and it goes on and so forth. In that sense. So China and Israel are like two friends in a part, and they wanted to challenge Washington basically. So they are allied with Russia also, and so in a sense he's not giving you the entire part of the story. Also a thing I noticed mostly among tankies is that they feel that Syria is some sort of resistance to the Israeli Zionist regime and things like that. Want to be noted that it was Hafiz al-Assad itself who defeated the Palestinian Liberation Organization in Lebanon. He sent troops there so in order to crush the uprising and things like that, to help the Christians basically in Lebanon. That is the 75 part of the war. And in another aspect, what he did to Syria was that he killed Palestinian refugees in Syria. If you know about the Yarmouk camp incident, like how he funneled weapons to ISIL militants and Jabhat al-Nusra militants, because most of them were languishing in Syrian prisons, and rightfully so they were languishing. But he released them to make the revolution look very sectarian and things like that. And that is the whole summary of it. Now we see Israel has never said that it wants Bashar al-Assad to go, because I don't because according to me, Eddie Cohen, which is the senior most ranking Zionist source, he said that we don't want any peace agreements with the Middle Eastern countries. So Syria will be in for a big surprise. Salah Jadid was when he tried to overthrow Hafez al-Assad, then he was rotting in prison for 20 years and died subsequently in Al-Mazeh prison or things like that. So that's the thing. Syria's over-dependence on China is another factor that they have no leverage basically, because the Western powers aren't going to spare them with the human rights violation and things like that. So they turn towards the East. Look, East policy. Even India had tried this a lot during the Nehruvian era, because India itself was pressured in because Pakistan had gone with the Americans, so the Indians decided like let's do it with the Americans and things like that. And so they went with the so they went the Russian way, and we know what policy it created. Now hardly Indians have any influence in Sri Lanka and things like this. Is not being said by me or my imagination. It is said by most Hindu alt-right accounts and things like that. When it comes to the competition between India and China and the global South for domination. That's one point here. And most interestingly, he also missed out the fact that Israel itself said back in 2013 when the war was great at its height that it doesn't want Bashar to go. So how did he think that rebels destroying communication sites would benefit Israel? That's a circular reasoning argument. Like you blame the others of what you're guilty of, basically. So that's what Syria has been doing.